Of course, on Football Fada, we also do have an opportunity to hang out with the best of the game, legends of football. And today, I'm hanging with a goalkeeping legend from South Africa. And I think it's fair enough to also say a coaching legend in his own right, considering everything he has achieved. Roger de Sá. Coach, thank you so much for joining us. Firstly, you are not coaching anywhere, you stopped with Qatar, I think, after your stint last year. What have you been doing?
First of all, great to be here. Thanks for the invite. Bit of a holiday. I stopped in Jan and, we came back home, sort of got home, fixed the house, do a couple of things, get involved in a few businesses here and there. But overall, just come back from a holiday in Greece, loved it, spent some time with the wife, pay back all the hardships she's been through. And, now I'm just sort of hanging about and seeing what's coming about, what's in my inbox. Agents and so on, a lot of activity, but I try and stay away from that. And then we'll see what comes up. Maybe in a couple of days, a couple of weeks, whatever, something comes up, I'll take it. If not, I can continue living the life that I'm living and, enjoying it a bit.
Are you ready though?
Nice.
Are you ready to get back into the scene? And by the scene, you've been international for quite a while now, being there with Coach Carlos Queiroz. Are you ready now to come back home? Because the last time you were at home, obviously you were with Cape Umoya, but are you ready to come back home? And by home also DStv Premiership, or are you okay with anything?
No, look, like I said, any project that excites me, I'll go for it. It doesn't really have to be a top club and a top coaching job. If it's the under 10 of the local school team and it excites me, I'll do that type of thing. So I'm in a position right now that I can be a little bit choosy about the project that come my way, which is great. But I'm ready. I need to work.
How do you get to that point, Coach, where you get to be choosy? What? Because when you're still a young coach and you're getting into the scene, you obviously you take anything that comes your way for the purposes of experience. But when you're a coach that has done a Champions League final, a coach that has won an MTN8, has won an Ep2 Cup, a coach that has coached in World Cups, how do you decide that?
I think it's a lot of it is financially. So I think financially you get to a stage where you don't have a bond to pay, you don't have to worry too much about the bills, and that's a nice position to be in. You know that you've got enough to live a comfortable life until you 80 or whatever it is that you're going to get to. But that's a good position to be in. The kids out of home. They've got their careers, they've got their life sorted. The wife's happy, she's got a good job, couple of properties and things like that. And you comfortable in that sense where you don't have a rope around your neck to pay the bills at the end of the month. And that's where you get to. And then you can be selective about what you want to do. And you can do the things that make you happy, the things that you enjoy, the things that make you get out of bed and excite you. And that's basically what I really want to do. And in some ways, it's been like that just about my whole career. I must be honest. I've always enjoyed it. Put it this way. I don't need to work, but I want to work. It's that type of scenario. So like I said, a good project, whatever it is, it doesn't have to be, a top coach at a top club. I mean, that only comes, there's only a few of those jobs available. If it does come, great. If not, if it excites me, development, whatever division, I have a few sort of things in the pipeline, a couple of options that I'm looking at. Some of them are overseas, and those are the things I got to weigh up. Do I want to go back, live out of a suitcase again and fly around with a passport and things like that? But again, if it's something good and something that really is a good project, I'll go for it.
How attractive is our domestic league now? Since you left, since you were coaching at the highest level, how attractive has it become since then now?
I think our league has progressed every year. I think if I go back to when I started playing and it became the PSL, and then obviously DStv took over that and so on, and the way it's progressed, I think it's got better and better every year. I think the biggest step was probably after the World Cup 2010. I think a lot of things improved, stadiums. I think the press improved. I think the level of refereeing, everything sort of was always on the up. I think it continues to be like that. A little bit sort of saddened by the movement of the clubs. The selling and buying and that type of thing. That's probably the only really sort of patch that we can say that's not great.
You don't believe in that, do you? the buying of a status, and essentially you're struggling to get out of the first division, and the only way you feel you can get into the top division is by buying your way in there. I mean, just where are you in terms of that kind of system that the PSL is very happy with? Clearly,
I think it's something that I don't think as a football lover, I don't think you really like it and you're in favor of it. But I think if you look at the finances of it and sort of how the running of it, it's got to be there because you need the money. You look at Sundowns. If Mr. Motsepe didn't come in, would Sundowns be where they are now?
Yeah.
You know, he didn't change the name. He continued with it, but he could have changed it. You know, and it could have been a successful club.
Yeah.
So yeah, a little bit sort of, I think the changing of the name sort of hurts me a bit because I've been involved in a couple of name changes that sort of, you know, hit the nerve with me, sort of like Swallows and Wits, which are a big part of it, and it sort of disappeared. And that is sad. For the history of the game. But it sometimes can be for the good of the game too. You know, all over the world, presidents change of clubs, club owners change, chairmans, whatever. And sometimes for the good, sometimes for the worse. But not ideal. But you know what? If those are the rules and it will continue that way, you know, I think we just got to tighten up a little bit more on sort of securities and assurances so that you don't get these fly-by-nights who buy and then sort of stop paying and disappear and leave the clubs in a bigger hole than what they were. I think that's where it's sticky, but it's a tough job. How are you going to regulate that? It's going to be very, very difficult.
When last time you were coaching one of the big three, you know, the league was still a little open. You know, you never knew who would win. Kaizer Chiefs or Mamelodi Sundowns or even an Orlando Pirates. There was SuperSport that was there or thereabout. Wits was there or thereabout as well. 7 times in a row, Mamelodi Sundowns has won the league. There is absolutely no competition. At this point, the only competition is you're fighting for second place. You're fighting to stay away from relegation. You're fighting for the top 8. Before we get into a new season, you're already thinking Sundowns has taken it. What has that done for football?
Again, it's a good and bad. You know, I think you need somebody to take it to another level, which I think Sundowns have. You know, they've taken it to another level. I think with first of all, the finances are incredible. You can't deny that. And of course, with the finance come a lot of good things, you know, better players, better facilities, better, you know, charters and flights and whatever, doctors, whatever it is that you have if you've got the finances. So of course, it's taken them to another level. And I think it's kind of working the other ones up a little bit. And everybody sort of goes, okay, that's where we want to be. And we got to try and get to them. Hopefully Sundowns don't drop, you know, to let them catch up. I hope everybody else sort of takes a step up and starts catching up. And I think it will happen. I think sort of near the second half of the season, there were signs already of clubs going, okay, you know, let's roll our sleeves up. It's time to have a go.
It's been 10 years though, coach. It's been 10 years since, for example, the Kaizer Chiefs has won any silverware.
That's another story. But I think if you look at all over the world, Bayern Munich won the league 10 years in a row.
Yeah.
And you're not telling me the Bundesliga is a good league? It is a good league.
Yeah.
But you know, Bayern Munich, chances are they're going to win the league. So, you know, Real Madrid, Barcelona, they usually win the league.
But then you have a Sevilla that's winning the Europas.
Correct. So I think it is expected, and I think the other clubs will catch up, but I think it's a wave, you know, it's going to happen. It's sad that Chiefs aren't there because I think it's important for South African football that, you know, Chiefs, Pirates, Sundowns, you know, they compete, you know, and then there's other clubs around there that will probably play a part, like I think Cape Town City will play a part. Stellenbosch now have shown good signs. I hope they can continue with that trend. And many other clubs. It'd be nice to see a club like Amazulu stepping up and being contenders. And I think when that comes around, again, it will be a perfect league. It's very difficult to have a perfect league, you know. But right now, Sundowns have shown signs, but they've also shown sort of, there's a few cracks showing up now. Pirates has shown good form. I think they've really stepped up. Chiefs can only get better, I think. So I think it will be for the better. I think the next 5 years of the PSL will be exciting times.
Bafana Bafana. There's been so much badgering of them over the years, coach. And I think a lot of South Africans would agree that it's some of it has been fair. Some of it has been a little too harsh, you know, in a national team that is forever, you know, going through whatever challenges it has, be it on the field and off. But there seems to be something happening, clicking, you know. I don't know how Hugo Broos has managed to do it, but he seemingly has done it, where there is a lot of belief now in our national team. Do you see this as just a, just a quick spark, or that it's a fire has started here?
I think the fire has definitely started. I agree with you. I think they've shown fantastic signs from where they were. I think the coach has come in. Is the one thing I've noticed with the coach, he tends to stay calm. One thing I noticed in the AFCON, which was a fantastic tournament, first of all, and then of course the performance of Bafana was also great. So what I noticed about Bafana was the calmness on the bench. Even though they were going through penalty shootouts and tough moments, the other teams you'd see sort of chaos, talking coaches and 10 coaches talking to the 11 players and so on, and other players talking to. In the Bafana camp, it seemed sort of serene. It's sort of like, okay, it's a tough moment, but there was calmness. And I noticed that. I don't know if because I'm a coach and I've been there, I saw that there was calmness. There was a sort of almost like a level of confidence, and it was nice to see. And there was no panic, and it was good to see. And it was also good to see that the superstars that were Sundowns and playing overseas, they came through.
Yeah.
And it was nice to see, because national team, having worked now with national teams, is very, very tough, because you're working with superstars that play 90 minutes every week. And now they're coming to the national team, and some of them don't even get a sniff.
Yeah.
So to keep the camaraderie going and that type of spirit going is very, very difficult. And it was good to see.
How do you, coach, having dealt with huge egos, having dealt with men that have won Champions Leagues, European Champions Leagues and Premier League title, how do you deal with that kind of ego, especially if you're not a Pep Guardiola and they're coming and they're looking at you and they're thinking, who's this guy from South Africa?
Yeah, funny enough, when I first arrived in sort of, being the Portugal national team in 2010, it was sort of like, how do I behave? And I made a conscious decision that I behave like I behave. I'm not going to try and be somebody else. And I think that was the ticket to international coaching, was that I'm just myself, and just being myself and sharing my knowledge and my, whatever I think, has got me through. Mo Salah is on speed dial on my phone, and he talks to me whenever he wants to. And I think that's how you develop that friendship, because coaching is 75% man management.
Yeah.
The rest, the football side is pretty small. I mean, I'm not going to teach Mo how to play football, but I am going to help him and guide him and give him my opinion as a man. And I think that's what they appreciate, is your honesty. And if you do that with them, you're more than halfway there. As an international coach, you must remember that when we select a squad for the Euros, for example, you're selecting 24 players or whatever the quota is, but you know that you're only going to use 15, 16 players.
Yeah.
It's a fact. You go back in the history of the game, Argentina won the World Cup, you'll see that only 16, 17 players played. You either 7 or 8 are tourists. And the way you select those tourists sometimes can be the key to your success or not.
In the dressing room.
In the dressing room. So sometimes it's better to have a lesser player, but a better tourist who doesn't cause chaos in the dressing room. So it comes down to your selection process, what you really need. I'm sure you understand what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Okay. And that's the art of, I think, a good national team coach. You got to know who you're taking with, for 6, 7, 8 weeks across the world to a different environment. And you're going to take a superstar from a club that's not going to play, who would cause a lot of havoc in your change room, or in your hotel, or in your dining room, or in your physio room, whatever it is. So sometimes the way you select your tourists is your key.
Could win you the World Cup. Coach, having been two World Cups and coaching 2 World Cups and knowing what it takes to get there, looking at this current Bafana group, which a lot of them might not be there for, the end of the journey for the 2026 World Cup. They'll help us get there, but they might not be part of it. Knowing what it takes to get there, do you think this current crop will be able to get there? And 1, 2, do you think this current crop can actually win the next AFCON?
I think they can. I think the last AFCON, they've shown that they can win it. Okay. Secondly, I think because there's more countries qualifying, I think it's opened another door for us to qualify. I think, let's be realistic. We got to qualify now.
Yeah.
I think now the door's open for us. It's up to us not to qualify. And I think we've gone about it the right way, kept the same coach. Everything's sort of going well. I hope everything's going well. I don't know what's going on the inside. Don't get carried away. The players are kind of the same. There's not too many sort of drastic changes, which is nice to see. So I think we can. The one upside is that we don't have too many sort of superstars playing all over the world.
Yeah.
And I think, in the past we'd say, oh, we don't have those stars that we used to have, the Lucas, the Masingas, and these guys that were Benny and so on that were overseas, and we brought them in. But that was difficult for us. I think the fact that you've got the guys based here is a massive help. I worked in Qatar, for example, where all your national team players play in Qatar, and was actually a fantastic opportunity. We'd go watch them. We didn't watch them play anymore. We used to go watch them train. So you could go and watch your whole squad training every day. Where when you have half your squad playing in Europe, virtually impossible getting them flights. When do they get released? Pressure from their clubs, their club bosses, and so on and so on. So in a way, it kind of helps us a little bit that we have, I think, 80% of our squad based here. And it's nice to see that the guys playing overseas are keen to come. Because that's key. That's important. The guys come back, they feel accepted. There's a sense of professionalism in the squad, which I think Hugo Bruce has done. And that's what the players want. The overseas player is not looking for money. He's looking for professionalism, good training, good facilities, well received, well taken care of. That's what he's looking for. The local guys obviously different. But actually, I don't believe the local guys is a matter of money anymore. I think it's now the sort of pride and prestige, which is good to see.
And we didn't have that for quite a while, didn't we? Where we had guys that really wanted to, it wasn't about the flag. It was just about, I'm a superstar, either playing abroad or playing at the biggest clubs here. So do you feel that there is that national pride now?
Yeah, I think there is. I think that sort of came in a little bit into our team now in the latest AFCON. I know this might be totally sort of left field, but I think the success of our rugby team has also helped us. I think it's sort of, there's a bit of a comparison now. We go, you know what, if the rugby guys can do this, we can do this. Let's go for it. It happened to us in 95, 96. Where the rugby guys would come and support us and come to our matches. And it kind of pushed us, to win the AFCON. I know the AFCON is not the World Cup, but it sort of gave us something to go for, and we won it. And it was great to see that there was sort of almost like a partnership, and it's nice to see that there's hunger for us now with a soccer team as well, which is, it's time for us to make our mark. And I think reaching the final and the way we played to reach the final was important. I think it put us back on the map.
Coach, I've always been interested to find out, what is it about this relationship you have with Coach Carlos Queiroz that, whenever he would call, firstly, that you're the man that he thinks of when he gets a major job. What is it about that relationship? How did it firstly form? And secondly, just like, how have you managed to maintain it so well that you're always the guy he thinks of when he wants to bring someone into his team?
A lot of people say to me, it's your friend, Carlos. And I say, my friend, he's never been to my house. I've never been to his house. We've already had a meal together. It's purely a working relationship. It's, he calls me up, he asks me if I'm interested or not, and then he hands it over to the federations that are in charge and agents, whatever comes in play. And then I look after myself, and then I go and I work. And
so it's not a condition he has in him getting hired by the federation that, listen, you hire me, you hire Roger as well.
No, not at all. It's we're totally two individuals. I think he hires me for what I do, and I think it's more for what he doesn't do. I got to do the stuff that he doesn't do. So yeah, he knows what I'm about, and I think to be honest, we're similar in a lot of ways. We have sort of similar thinking process, but we clash as well, which is what he wants. He wants my opinion to be sort of not his opinion. I think there's a sense of trust. There's a rule that whenever we work together, is that when he's in town, I can go, and if he wants to leave town, I've got to stay. So it's that kind of sort of number one, number two scenario that he wants to work with. But it's been good. We've had our clashes behind closed doors and difference of opinions, and we obviously a lot of discussions, but I think he's a great guy to work for. Very, very professional, very well respected all over the world. Knowledge, like, you can't believe, how much football knowledge the man has. He can talk football for 24 hours and non-stop, which is sometimes why I don't like socializing with him too much, because I need a break sometimes. But yeah, it's purely a professional relationship that he sort of, I think the same way he hires me and then I hire the fitness trainer and the video analyst and he has that trust and belief. And that's about it, really.
Are you guys, is it done now? Or you guys, do you feel like there would ever be another opportunity for you guys to work together at national level, wherever?
Every time we finish one, I think, oh, that's it.
Yeah.
It's something else will come up. I'll go on my own. I'll do this. I'll do that. But it seems to happen that, when one door closes, another one opens, and it's almost, I keep promising my wife and family, no, it's the last one, and then something else comes up and then we go again. But who knows? I mean, I spoke to him 2 days ago and it was like, he's got a game farm in Mozambique with lots of animals. And so he's there, with the lions and elephants and whatever. And I spoke to him and I said, I hope you're retiring now. And he said, yeah, but there's an offer here, and there's this offer there, and there's this opportunity here. And I'm going, okay. So who knows? Who knows? Again, like I said, if it's something good and exciting, I've turned him down before. I mean, when I joined Pirates, he wanted me to go to Iran with him, and I stayed. When I went to Ajax, he went to Colombia, and I stayed. And then it just sort of, it's the right timing sometimes. When he asked me to go to Egypt, it was the right time. So it all depends what's going on.
Coach, your biggest regret as a head coach, and I suppose double-edged question with that one, your biggest highlight, and I want to focus it here at home with what you've done domestically.
Yeah.
What was your biggest regret, if you even have one?
I tend not to have too many regrets, to be honest. I don't think about that as, I look at the positives all the time. I don't have too many regrets, to be honest.
Or how you would have wanted something to have turned out instead of how it actually really is.
Yeah, look, if I go back and I think, why didn't Lennox put the ball in the back of the net in the final against Al-Ahly, when he was 2 meters away from the goal? But those things are beyond my control. I can't, those aren't regrets. Or if I lost on a penalties in the shootout with Pirates, for example, I think, why did I put his name on the list? And I should have put somebody else's name on the list. Maybe Europe scored. Those things, that's football. So there's no regrets really. And I always give 100%. I try my best, work hard with my players and, develop relationships with my players, which is even more important, I think. And, football's been good to me. I think I've served it. It's been a long, long time. When I think back now, it's been over 40 years.
Yeah.
But it's been great. It's been a fantastic journey. It's living a dream. It's like, but the alarm clock's going to go, and you're going to wake up from the dream and it's going to end.
Yeah.
But it's been great. I don't have any regrets, to be honest with you, Marina. I loved every minute of it, even the good and the bad. The good times and the bad times have been great.
2013 final, is that your greatest coaching highlight, or is there something else that perhaps, because you ask a coach, is the greatest highlight you win in the league or you win in the champion? The coach is like, actually, no, my greatest highlight is unearthing certain players.
Yeah, it's true. It's so true. As you know, we live our lives in football and we don't really remember full matches.
Yeah.
Nobody remembers. We remember snippets of this and that. And it's so true. If I think back of highlights, of course, I think, being at the World Cup, with Portugal and losing to Spain 1-0 and getting knocked out, that was like, wow, but then going to the next World Cup and coaching Iran and beating Wales, with a team that was sort of torn apart by political issues in Iran. So those achievements are sometimes bigger because of the difficulties that you have, getting around it. How do you get a team to perform now? They're under pressure from all political sides. The government is all over them. And now you're getting these players to play. And those are the things that you go, wow, I think that was a great job. Just the fact that we got them on the field and they performed. We might not have won, might not have qualified to the next round, but so it's not always about winning. Funny enough, even though we're there to win, it's those little moments that we have, that sort of make our lives really sort of meaningful and enjoyable. To me, it's like having top players phone me up and treating me as a friend.
Highlight.
Always.
Let's look at as a player, and I'm going to start with domestic. I think your club career. I mean, what would you have done differently as a footballer?
I would have signed better contracts.
What do you mean?
No, I
you
think-
coach Swallows, Mamelodi Sundowns, Wits.
Wits, yeah.
Those sound like really good.
Yeah, they were good. I mean, my sort of progress in my career was fantastic. I mean, I came to this country as a 10-year-old, couldn't speak a word of English, lived in a car with my parents. What was it? 8 years later, I was close to being a triple international. And I mean, how did that happen in such a short space of time? Sometimes I tell my son the story. He goes, "Those were in the olden days. Don't tell me the stories," you know. But yeah, so I've had a great time. And then from then onwards was, playing the local scene, doing my national service, joining Swallows, great time at Swallows was fantastic. Great players. I mean, those things can never be taken away from you. That change room, Les Grobler, Noel Cousins, Calvin Peterson, Andres Mpondo, Goodman Shlongwani, Rapalejo, Steve Sakan. I mean, those are things that are great as a footballer. Those moments in the change room. Sometimes, when you start playing, people say to you, "Do you miss the game?" And you say, "No, I miss the change room." And that's what you miss. You miss that vibe, that group of guys that travel, and then the 90 minutes, it's just the 90 minutes, but the rest of it was great. Especially in those times, which was sort of the changing times of South Africa. Great experiences, life experiences, which was great. I remember going to Goodman Shlongwani's house, and I went there to tune his video recorder onto his TV because he couldn't do it. And he was so surprised that I drove to his house. And I was in his house. I had dinner with him, with his family, and then we watched TV. And then when I was leaving at midnight, he said, "You can't leave. You can't drive out on your own." I said, "Bull, I'm driving." And he was the most worried guy I've ever seen. And I got in my car and I drove, and I got lost. And where I was, but I got lost. And I got home. But those are the things that you remember. Those are the meaningful times that we had in football. And of course, winning the Bob save, beating Sundowns 5-1 on that final and things like that. And the great players and characters that we had. Little money. At the time, it wasn't little money. It was okay. And that's all we knew. But great characters. And I think if you ask me now, what's the game missing now? I would say, of course, characters that we had that have become very professional and sort of, I don't know, so fixated on the game that we leave our personalities behind.
Basketball coach? I mean, really? And also, why didn't you further that? I mean, sure, I know South Africa's not that big with basketball, but like you decided, okay, football is where we're at and this is what I'm going to do. But you were also pretty good at basketball.
Yeah, look, I played basketball for South Africa and I captained the team and I was MVP, and there was nothing else to
More
do.
than that?
Yeah, to do in South African basketball. I played as a professional as well. I earned money from it.
Yeah.
But, it was done. It was like, okay, where to now? And don't forget, I'm 6 foot tall and I'm not the tallest guy. So, the guys were getting bigger and stronger and so on. But yeah, I played it. I love the game.
Yeah.
I still watch it. I don't miss an NBA game that's on television, and I follow it. I got a dream to go and watch an NBA game in New York, hopefully. Hopefully I can still tick that box.
Yeah.
But, I love the game. It's a fantastic game. I learned a lot from it. Even with my coaching, to be honest, I learned a lot about coaching the game that I've implemented into football. But yeah, look, there came a time when you had to sort of make a decision.
And I think
I was a triple international at the time where it was like, indoor football as an outfield player, a goalkeeper for the national team, and then basketball. I couldn't juggle anymore. I mean, I was going to run out of energy because I would play, I remember playing international games in the same weekend, and when you tell players now, "Oh, you got to rest for 48 hours. I mean, I used to go from one field, drive across town and go play another one. And it was fine,
And I think that's where I wanted to actually just go with that is a lot of athletes will always say that this sport that I'm so good at, this was always my journey. This was always my life. This is always where I was going. But you literally had 3 different codes that you could pick from at an international level. So for you, it was all of these were your journeys. And it was just now a matter of okay, let me go with this one. I'm good at all of them, but let me go with this one. So for you, it wasn't that 10-year-old boy who's coming, into the country, who's achieving what he's achieving in these 8 years, but this is where I'm at. For you, it was a matter of, I've got options. I've got choice.
No, I never saw it like that. I always saw it as playing to the best of my ability wherever I went.
Yeah.
I played first team rugby at school, and I loved the rugby. I loved playing rugby at school. If you ask me, what's one of your proudest moments in sport? And I'll tell you is, walking out with the first team rugby on the full sort of school clapping and the girls and the boys and the teachers and you wearing the first team rugby jersey. That's such a special moment. And you can't take that away from a kid. But of course, playing basketball, indoor football, captain, playing for Bafana, and those are all special.
Yeah.
They're all sort of, but you must remember that my sport somehow all had a link. My sport was like a triangle. So playing basketball helped me with my goalkeeping, and helped me with my indoor football skills.
How?
Because there was for me, there was always a relationship, basketball, handling, football.
Okay.
So one would sort of be training the other in a lot of ways. So I always saw it as cross training. For me, was positive. For me. And so much so, I went to play rugby because my father said to me, you're knocking on the door of the first team, but you're 15 or 16 years old. You only weigh 60 kilos and you're skin and bone. You need to toughen up.
Yeah.
If you're going to play with the men, you got to toughen up. So I said, what do I do? I tried the boxing gym down the road in Boyson's, and I got beaten up. So I said, no, I can't do that one. And I went to play rugby, and I made the first team rugby, and I toughened up. I got stronger. I looked for the contact. I looked for the impact, and it helped me. It helped me with my basketball. It helped me with my goalkeeping, and I grew up. Because in that era, there was no, sort of going to the Virgin Active and go to the gym and bulk up. And it was, you had to do what you had to do. And playing rugby was the right thing to do. And I loved it. So, but my sports were always sort of a triangle where there was always there was always something that helped the other.
Yeah.
So I wasn't doing like, swimming and, playing rugby. It's two totally different sports. My sports had sort of had a link, and it helped me a little bit, You see a lot of the cricketers play hockey and things like that. So, the hand-eye coordination or whatever. And that helped me a little bit. But the time was I didn't really choose, to be honest with you, Marina. It just happened. It was like, as it went, Swallows became more professional. There was more demands. The other sports were not keeping up.
Yeah.
And it was almost like a natural decision, which way to go.
I'd like to tap into your goalkeeping brain, the state of that position in the country now. In your day, it was you. It was Brian Baloyi. It was Andre Arendse. It was Hans Vonk. It was there was so much competition of world-class goalkeepers. I mean, sure, Itumeleng Khune did himself, at his peak have quite a bit of competition as well. Right now, it seems that no one can come anywhere near Ronwen Williams. And all due respect to Velimo, Toa, Ricardo Goss, and all of those guys, but it seems the goalkeeping has just sort of, the standard at least, has gone down a bit. I may be misreading it in that sense, but where do you see the standard of goalkeeping in South Africa right now?
I've always thought it's been pretty good. I don't think it's ever been sort of in a situation where it was like, panic.
Yeah.
I know Bronwyn right now is probably sort of run away from the others. I think his performances and what he's done in AFCON has sort of moved him up. But if you took away the penalty saves and things like that, we probably wouldn't be talking about it too much. You think, there's Keith and there's this one and there's that one and that one. The fact that he's had such a good tournament, such a good season has really sort of taken me away from the rest.
Yeah.
But I also think that sometimes we allow too many foreigners. I think that's one area that, SAFA should be a little bit worried about. And the clubs must play a part as well. Stop, don't open the door to too many foreigners. I think the foreigners that come in help the game or contribute. But, when you're just bringing in because it's cheaper, I think it hurts us. And I think we've got to be careful we don't get caught into that. But I think goalkeeping, we're okay.
Yeah.
We're okay. I think Bronwyn's got a few more years left. I don't think the number 2, number 3, number 4 are that bad. I think get given the opportunity, and if they played a few games and they get a little bit of experience, I think they will be pretty close to where the other one is. To be honest with you, I don't know the level of the under 20, under 17. I really don't know where we're at with that. But from what I've seen, I think there's an hunger for goalkeepers. There are goalkeepers coming through. I saw, for example, Darren Keat just had a little coaching academy going in Cape Town, and I sort of saw it, and a lot of kids want to be goalkeepers.
Yeah.
You know, where in my time, it was the chubby kid or the one who couldn't play or whatever. I think now there's sort of, goalkeeping has become a bit of an art, and some of them have become superstars, and it's nice to see. You know, it's a tough position. Make no mistake. You must remember that when you put a kid in there, first of all, the kid never gets any coaching.
Yeah.
You know, you coach the others and you just leave him in the goals. But then the problem is that when you concede a goal, all the kids walk away from him.
Yeah.
And he's left with the ball in the net. When you score a goal, all the kids go and celebrate, and he's left in the net. So these kids take a lot of strain. You know, I think it's got to be a special kid that sort of steps up and really wants to be that level of responsibility. And kids are cruel, eh? When you concede a goal, they turn around, they look at you, you know, and they want your jersey and things like that. So it's a tough position. But I think with the sports we play, like rugby, cricket, and so on and so on, I think we develop good athletes. And I think the goalkeeper has got to be a good athlete. And I think we're starting to develop that. They've got to play now with their feet. So it's not just a guy to catch and punch balls. He's got to now be a part of the team.
Let's actually talk about that. I want to sort of play a little game with you in terms of comparisons. Now we're talking goalkeepers globally, right?
Yeah.
And I'm just going to throw some names at you, coach, and you just tell me which one you think is better. Honest opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not you having any kind of beef with them, but I'm just going to throw names of some of the greatest goalkeepers we've seen either here in South Africa or even internationally, and you'll just let me know which one you think is better. Brian Baloyi or Andre Arendse?
Okay, so you have two totally different goalkeepers there. Andre Arendse was the steady Eddie. You know, he was the guy who never made a mistake. He gave you a 7 out of 10 for the season. Brian would give you a couple of 8s and 9s, but he could also give you a 5 or a 6. Yeah. Okay. Brian was more of a showman in a lot of times. You know, I think he was more athletic and you'd fly around, where Andre was your steady guy. You know, your steady guy in the change room, your steady guy training, your steady guy in the matches. So you got to, you know, what type of goalkeeper. They're both fantastic and they both could work for you. But you as a manager, as a coach, you got to decide which one is the one that's going to suit your team.
Yeah. And between the two, who would you go for? I'm just basically going to throw the name.
I would go Andre. I mean,
Andre?
I worked with Andre for many years. Andre, you knew what you were going to get.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what you got. You know, it was a certainty.
Okay. So Andre Arendse, right?
Yeah.
Andre Arendse or William Okpara?
Andre Arendse.
You still sticking with him?
Yeah.
Andre Arendse or Hans Vonk, coach?
Hans was good. Hans, I think because of his development in Holland, he came with a different, you know, he had different qualities. You know, he was bigger. He had a sense of he had presence in goals. And yet played at that level. I think Hans was probably one of the better ones we've had.
Okay. Hans Vonk, then, since he's got that international experience, let's open it up to the guys abroad. Hans Vonk or Edwin van der Sar?
Edwin van der Sar, I think, was...
Coach, he's a Man United player, and I know how you feel about Man United.
I hate to say that, but I think Edwin van der Sar was... he was a big turning point at United. You know, when he came in, it sort of stabilized the whole goalkeeping department, which had been sort of chaotic for many years. You know, you had the French guy, then you had an Australian, then you had this one, then you had that one. And then when Edwin van der Sar came, it kind of like, okay, and came the success of United. So remember, to win something, you got to have a good goalkeeper.
Yeah.
No one's ever won anything with an average goalkeeper.
Yeah.
So I think that alone will tell you that that's why
Edwin van der
United had that purple patch, and that's why you're still wearing that jersey.
Edwin van der Sar, coach, or Oliver Kahn?
I like Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah.
I think Oliver Kahn was also a great goalkeeper, but a little bit crazy, as you can remember. Fantastic. I mean, he did things that were unbelievable. But he played for a good club. You know, he was at Bayern Munich for many, many years. And then, of course, he played behind a fantastic team. You know, the German team's always been good. So, yeah, but I think
Edwin van
Edwin van der Sar was one of my sort of,
Yeah.
I won't say idols, but one of the guys to look up to.
Edwin van der Sar or Gianluigi Buffon? Yeah, I'm not going to make it easy for you, Coach.
Yeah, these are tough ones. I think, yeah, look, Buffon was fantastic as well.
Yeah.
There's no doubt about it. I still prefer Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah.
To be honest with you, I think Buffon was great. I think goalkeepers in Italy are a little bit protected. They play in a different type of role, and the teams are sort of very deep. Fantastic goalkeeper too. But Edwin played in the Premier League, doing what he did. I saw him make some fantastic saves. Yeah, I like Van der Sar still.
Van der Sar or Petr Cech?
Still Van der Sar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm enjoying it.
Yeah.
Let me make it a little more difficult for you then. Edwin van der Sar or Hugo Lloris?
Even though I'm a Spurs supporter, is that why you're going there? Yeah, no, still
Edwin van der Sar.
Yeah, still Van der Sar, definitely.
Edwin van der Sar or Iker Casillas?
Van der Sar. Still, yeah. Look, I think everyone's got a tendency to choose a similar, the type of player they like, and sometimes it's just the presence and the way they carry themselves and things like that. And I liked Edwin because I went to United a few times. I did some scouting for Man United, and I would have to go there and I'd watch him. The guy just had a sort of an aura about him. He was calm. He was the way he carried himself about at the club. Which, look, I never saw Buffon and Casillas. I didn't see what they did at their club, but I could see Van der Sar was that character. What you saw off the field, he was the same on the field, and that's what I enjoyed about him. He was very professional. He did his job, and he did it very, very well.
Top 5 goalkeepers for you of all time. You can throw yourself in there if you want. Who are your top 5 goalkeepers of all time? And I'll even open it up and not make it local, just internationally.
Yeah, look, obviously Van der Sar. There's been some fantastic goalkeepers all over the world. I mean, you can go back in time. Dino Zoff from Italy, and even Yashin, the Russian guy that sort of changed the whole game. But the game has changed. You can't. Those goalkeepers that were good in those days might not be good in today's football. I mean, the game has changed so much. As a goalkeeper, you can't do half the things. I mean, now when I played, we used to roll the ball out and bounce it and whatever. Then they came with a 3-step rule. Then it was the back. So we went through all those changes. So goalkeepers in those days didn't have to kick the ball. It was just they were there to just stop the ball. So that's changed drastically. But I'll tell you one thing. I'll tell you something, that the best South African goalkeeper I've ever seen and worked with, Sean, he played for me at Wits.
Really, Coach?
Yeah.
Do you want to say who he is? Because I know who he is, but
Do you know who he is? Tell me what you think.
I think I know who it is. Maniv Joseph?
No. Maniv was good.
Yeah, he was.
No. Also a Cape Town guy, Sean Roberts.
Really, Coach?
Honestly, and I've worked with, I've worked with Hans Vonk and many, Van der Sar, watched him train and things like that. And ability-wise, sort of hands down.
Yeah.
The kid had sort of came from a tough background. He had his own problems. He had his demons. That he had his chemical influences and things like that. But when you put him on the field or you put him on the training ground, he had more ability in that little finger than most of us goalkeepers in our whole body. Just a natural. And I'll tell you a story for free here. I went to United the one year and I was sitting there and I was having dinner with Alex Ferguson and we were talking and he said to me, how's your team doing? And I was coaching Wits and I said, we're doing okay. I've got a good goalkeeper. I've got this, I've got that. I've got a couple of players from Zim and this. And I said, no, I've got a good goalkeeper. And he said, I've only seen one very good South African goalkeeper. And I went, oh, okay. In my head, I'm thinking Gary Bailey. I'm thinking, okay. And he goes, and his name was, I went, yeah.
He said Sean
Roberts.
Wow.
Sean. And I said, are you serious? He said, yeah. I said, where did you see him play? And he said, I saw him playing for the SA under 20 team. And he made a couple of saves against France, which was Thierry Henry and in that generation. He said he's never seen anything like it.
Wow.
And it was quite interesting. This came out of nowhere.
Yeah.
And I went, okay. And it's true. You know, this kid was unbelievable. Unfortunately, you got lost to the system, like many do. But fantastic. Who knows what he have achieved?
Yeah. Coach, before I let you go, I mean, we can't not talk your favorite 11, your best 4-4-2. Your best 4-4-2. And we can even make it from the time you were playing till now.
South African? Let's go South African.
Let's go South African.
Okay.
Your best 4-4-2.
Look, of course, there's going to be a lot of questions about, different generations. And there's going to be a lot of guys that you leave out that, when I get in the car and I leave you, I'm going to go, oh, geez, how could I leave him out or him out? Okay. But sort of just off the top of my head, I mean, I played with the ones that I played with, for example, I mean, I played with a guy called Thomas Leby as a centre back, was unbelievable. Graham Lowe, I don't know, 7-8 seasons at Morocco Swallows with him, sort of unsung hero. He was just so steady.
Yeah.
Fullbacks, there's so many good ones. I mean, Andy Sensic, awesome player that sort of, unfortunately he took his life in his mid-20s, but an unbelievable player. There's just so many guys that I played with that were like, unbelievable players. I played with the strike force of Mo Cousins, Calvin Peterson, Les Grobler. Those three up front were, even in today's game, would have been unbelievable. So different, but yet they were so effective. But you can't take away the Daniel Mudaus and the other guys that I played with, Rafael Chuku and superstars, great players. So it would be very difficult for me to put out sort of the best 11, because I'll be leaving a second and a third and a fourth team, probably knocking on the door. But yeah, each one of them very, very special, and so many, many others.
Coach, what do you want to see out of South African football, looking at the current state of it? And I'm talking from club football to national team. What is Roger de Sa's wish for this country's football?
I'll tell you my wish, and it's a bit of a long story. I don't know how much time we have here, but, we in a country that I've now lived, in so many countries all over the world now, and I've experienced different continents and sort of tough times and good times. I mean, Qatar is a fantastic country, but when you go to live in Iran, you see the other side of it and the difficulties those countries have, and travel to Afghanistan, India, and all these other countries that we have to go and play against. You see a different world. What I see in this country is that we go to the Olympics, for example, which is now coming up, and we come back with 10, 15 medals, and we're kind of happy about it. And a country like ours, with what we have, facilities, finances, it's poor. And the reason is, if you're a good javelin thrower, let's say, for example, you got a son who's a good gymnast, what do you do with him? You don't know. The country doesn't support that. What are you going to do? Even though you can see the kid's got great potential, there's nothing you can do about it. Even if he's a good boxer, I mean, you can't do anything with him. Or if he's a good athlete, you take him to the local school and you hope that somehow, he develops. All right. And the difference is, if he's a good rugby player, you don't have to do anything. Why? Because the schools are going to come knocking at your door and they're going to take your son. They said, Mr. Moreno, just give us your son. We'll give him back to you in 5 years' time. He'll be 6'6". He'll weigh 120 kilos. He'll have contracts to go play in England, Japan, Australia, whatever. So don't worry about him. And you'll have an education. And if we can get to that rugby level of development that we have with football, we will definitely be a powerhouse in Africa. But we're so far from it. But why don't we copy the rugby? Why do we think we can reinvent the wheel? There's a project that works. So why don't we copy it? It works for cricket. It works for rugby. but we're still trying to invent our own wheel with football. So hopefully one day, which will probably be another generation, we will start to emulate how they do it.
So for you, it's just simple. Improve development.
Absolutely. Not just the development. I think what you're getting in rugby now is I'll go watch the Craven Week, and I watch these kids get off the bus, and I watch these kids eating in the cafeteria, and the way they mingle, the way they talk, their level of education is unbelievable. And when they get on the field, the discipline, the way they play, and I can tell you now, Morena, there's no color. It's like just rugby players. And let me tell you, huge athletes, phenomenal athletes that are coming through. And you can see that's why our Springbok rugby team is always in the top 3 in the world. I know you can't compare it to the other sports. I understand that. But there's something there that works. And it's good to see. And when we can have the same scenario in our football, where the guys are getting educated and everything else, and they're learning a trade of playing the game, we're there. And it can be done. We can't keep on relying on the kids playing in the street. Yes, Brazil can do it, and other countries that have got 200 million people. We can't. I mean, it's not going to happen.
Coach, we're going to leave it there because that is actually powerful sentiments. And I really do hope that the powers that be in South African football really do hear this, because it's stop reinventing the wheel. Just, you've got a template, copy it.
Go for it.
Coach, such a pleasure. Thank you so much for making the time just to come and hang out with us and just allowing us to just tap into your brain and everything that you think and do. And we'll definitely be waiting for that announcement of which top club in South Africa you're going to be coaching, or which national team you'll be coaching ahead of the next AFCON. But yeah, all the best, Coach.
Or which beach I'll be going to and spending a nice time and relaxing.
Most definitely, Coach. But yeah, all the best with everything. We really do appreciate your time.
Absolute pleasure. It's just a pity you're wearing that jersey. You could have worn a Spurs jersey at least, or something else.
I will definitely go out looking for a Spurs jersey, Coach. They really do have some really nice ones, and I really do like Heung-min Son, so I'll definitely go get his jersey. But yeah, Coach, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure.
No, absolute pleasure. Thank you very much for having me.
Okay.